I'm Rod Serling. You're listening to The Zero Hour.
Suspense.
I'm the Whistler.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Who is it?
The Fat Man.
Presents The Man Called X.
The Mysterious Traveler. Another journey into the realm of the strange and terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves. Where are we going? You'll find out when we get there.
Hello and welcome to a new week of Mystery and Suspense on Duane Old Time Radio. We are going to continue last month's post from the Zero Hour of Wife of the Red-Haired Man. We are going to listen to parts 3 and 4, which aired September 5th and September 6th, 1973.
I'm Rod Serling. You're listening to The Zero Hour. Rest your eyes. Exercise your imagination. This week, Bill Ballinger's best-selling novel, The Pursuit of a Damned Couple. The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. Starring Patty Duke Astin, John Astin, and Howard Duff. In Elliot Lewis's production of The Zero Hour.
Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Zero Hour. Sponsored in part by
the makers of Quaker State Motor Oil and National Presto Industries. This is The Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
Hugh Rohan, supposedly killed in Vietnam, returns after an absence of 7 years to find his wife remarried to Albert Turner. In a confrontation, Rohan, the red-haired man, panics and kills Turner. Mercedes Turner, still in love with Rohan, flees with him. She hurriedly gathers money and her jewels, buys a car, and the two escape New York and drive to Delaware. Two detectives, Williams from the 19th Precinct and Scores from Homicide, are assigned to the case. Williams finds that Mercedes Turner was secretly married to Hugh Rohan before her second unhappy marriage to Albert Turner. However, he doesn't know it was Rohan who shot Turner, or is he yet aware that the fugitive Rohan even exists? But first, this word.
Open up! It's me, Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of all France, much of the civilized world, and Louisiana if the deal falls through.
Quick, Pierre, hide in the closet. Napoleon must not find you here. Come in, Nappy.
Ah, Josephine, I had to see you.
Napoleon, my dearest heart, what are you doing here? I thought you were at Waterloo.
I was, but it ended early. What is that? I smell cigarette smoke. You know I hate you to smoke.
I didn't. I don't. I started again.
Aha! The smoke coming from that closet. Come out of there, you scoundrel, and on guard.
It was only in there to pick up the dry cleaning.
Take that, you filthy escargot.
This World History lesson was brought to you by your American Cancer Society, which says smoking can be injurious to your health.
Touché!
In more ways than one.
drove back to New York late at night after my Connecticut scouting expedition. I found that Mercedes Turner and a young red-haired man named Hugh Rohan had been in love and had gotten married. This confirmed my growing feeling that someone had been with Mercedes Turner when her husband had been murdered. Someone who was with her now as she ran from us. In the morning, Scores was waiting for me with additional medical examiner reports.
Albert Turner was shot with a .32. One shot through the heart.
Anything on that carpet stain?
The one in the living room? It's Turner's blood, all right. So that's where he was shot.
Fingerprints?
Well, someone cleaned up pretty well, the lab boys feel.
You don't say.
Yeah, they lifted prints on Turner, the maid, Mrs. Turner, some unidentifieds. But the doorknob, bar surface, phone, all clean of any prints.
Oh. That it?
No, one thing more. They picked up a strand of red hair. Texture indicates it's a man's. Now, Thelma Jordan can't recall any visitor to the apartment who had red hair.
Hello?
Miss Battles?
Yes?
This is Detective Williams from the New York City Police. I spoke to you yesterday.
Mr. Williams, the paper says murder. You didn't say anything about murder.
Mrs. Battles, tell me. After Mercedes' father annulled her marriage to Hugh Rohan, what happened to Rohan?
The war happened. He went to Vietnam.
And what then?
I don't know. I guess he got killed over there.
Why do you say that?
Because Mercy loved you, no matter how her father felt. If she remarried, it was because Hugh Rohan was killed in the war.
All right, Miss Battles. Thank you for your help.
We found a strand of red hair belongs to a ghost.
Yeah, right. On the phone yesterday, you said she went to the bank first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Withdrew $4,500 cash. Collected maybe $50,000 in jewels from her safe deposit box. We got a description from the insurance company.
And her mink coat, another $8 or $9 grand?
Yeah, probably.
All right, send a description of the jewelry to all jewelry stores and pawnbrokers within 2 days' drive of here. And check out the sale of every new or used car within a couple of hours' drive from here.
You think she bought a car?
Yes, and I think she's going to start selling her jewels, and I think she's got a red-haired male companion.
The ghost, huh?
Right. I think she's traveling with a ghost.
We woke to clear, sunny skies, and Hugh seemed more cheerful than the night before. I wanted him to tell me more about what he'd said. That he was a convict. An escaped convict. Whenever I tried to ask him, he'd sense what I was about to say and avoid me. After breakfast, we drove to Fredericksburg, where we were married. Then we found another small vacation cottage nearly deserted by the season. You'll tell me what happened when you want to. Or not at all. I love you. I have since the day we met. I always will, no matter what.
Oh, Mercy. Mercy. Look, someday I'll tell you. Someday. But not just now. Not yet.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cry on our wedding day.
Well, you did last time.
Yeah, I did. Because I was so happy.
Come on, let's go inside.
Not yet. I want to drive to the drugstore. What you told me last night. What the police might have found. We have to do something about your red hair.
Yes. Then even if they're looking for two people, it won't be us.
I'll be right back. You wait inside.
Morning, Mr. Thompson. Sure is cold this morning.
Cold? It must be 94 in the shade.
I mean it's cold inside your car's engine.
Well, why didn't you say so?
You didn't ask.
Well, just tell me how my engine can be cold on a sweltering day.
Glad you asked. When you start a car first thing in the morning, your engine is cold.
Well, that's true, but so what?
A cold engine does a bad job of burning gas. It can make soot, dirt, and acids form in your motor oil, and they can sure damage an engine.
What can I do about it?
Glad you asked. Instead of asking for my cheapest oil, you can start using a quality motor oil, Quaker Steak. Nothing finer than Quaker Steak. It's made scientific to neutralize acids and to hold solids suspended.
so they don't gouge out your engine.
Well, thanks for telling me, Caleb.
Down a quart, Mr. Thompson. Quaker State?
Well, yes. Why didn't you give me Quaker State before?
You didn't ask.
Quaker State your car to keep it running young.
We'll return to our story in a moment.
Life is a thread, one delicate dream. Don't stretch it, don't break it. For life can be long and life can be strong, and that's the way to make it.
Problem drinkers who drive cars were responsible for the deaths of 18,000 people last year. Men, women, children, babies, and very often themselves. More than 40 people every day.
Life is a thread, one delicate dream. Don't stretch it, don't break it. For life can be long and life can be strong, and that's the way to make it.
Get the problem drinker off the road for his sake and yours. Write to Drunk Driver, Box 1969, Washington, D.C. We'll tell you how you can help. A public service message on behalf of the U.S. Department of Transportation.
I'm not a man who believes in ghosts. I recognize that things happen which can't be explained, and I accept the fact that not everything is written out in capital letters so even a small child will understand. But when the lab finds a single red hair from a male human, then a male human with red hair was in the room where that hair was found. Yet all our information led us to the conclusion that the man in question was dead. But there was still an unexamined part of Mercedes Turner's life. Neighbors named Layton, who lived in the apartment above.
Well, you can imagine our surprise. We'd been up in New Hampshire skiing, and we hadn't heard any news. And then on the way home today, we heard about it on the radio.
How well did you know the Turners?
Oh, casually. You know, you see them in the elevator and say hello, or they get out of a cab you get into.
Mr. Turner was shot Thursday night. I believe you were here in town then.
Yeah, we didn't leave until Friday afternoon.
Well, sometime around midnight. We're not sure the exact time. Did you hear a revolver shot?
My husband's a perfectionist about his hi-fi. We wouldn't have heard anything because this apartment's soundproofed.
Uh-huh. What did you think of the Turners as people, as a couple?
Mrs. Turner is a beautiful woman. I don't know about him.
Oh?
Polite enough in the hall and lobby, but I never really liked him. Had a feeling he could be pretty unpleasant if he wanted.
On the day of the shooting, or that night, did you see any strangers around the building?
Oh, in New York, everyone's a stranger. How do you remember them?
Only if they're acting suspiciously or if someone's different. For instance, last Thursday in this neighborhood, did you see a man with red hair? Real red hair.
Well, yes, I saw him.
What was he doing?
Walking down East Vanders in the rain. That's all, just walking and looking around as if he were searching for an address.
Dyeing Hugh's hair brown changed his appearance remarkably. But very subtly, his attitude had also begun to change. Perhaps it was because my memories were of a younger, more innocent time, when the future was spread safely before us, ours for the taking. But by the time we left Fredericksburg, he'd become shifty, suspicious. I was driving.
Where are we headed?
Richmond, Virginia.
Why didn't we stay where we were? What was wrong with Fredericksburg?
We can't stay in one place too long, and we're too close to New York, and we need money.
What's needing money got to do with driving to Richmond?
I have to begin selling my jewelry, Hugh. I don't want to do it in the same town where we were married.
You're smart.
I worked, you know, while you were gone. I had a good job before I married Albert. I made decisions. I functioned on an executive level.
Better than being stuck with me. Is that what you mean?
No, that's not what I mean. I love you. You know that. You must know that. Why else are we together?
We're going to stay together. I'll take care of anyone who comes between us again.
In Richmond, I found a company, the Dixie Jewelers, which bought and sold old jewelry. The man was nice and honest, but I was shocked at what I received for my cluster diamond earrings.
How much did you get?
$600. They were insured for $3,500.
Where are we going now?
You decide. You tell me where you think we should go.
Mexico? We can get into Mexico and live there together. They'd never find us.
Do you speak Spanish?
No.
Well, I don't either. You'd be terribly conspicuous.
Well, then you decide. You pick a place. Just so we're together, that's all I want. That's all that's ever mattered to me. Do you think everything's going to be all right?
Why do you ask? Aren't you sure?
I don't know. I'm no longer sure of anything. Those years and all those years, they take it away from you.
Police work takes a lot of sweat and a bit of luck. We got our first break because New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut cooperate closely on car information. A woman answering Mercedes Turner's description had bought a used car in Jersey City, Jersey plates. When we checked out the name and address she'd given for transfer of title, we found there was no such person and no such address. A teletype to the Delaware State Bridge Authority brought us further information. A trooper remembered the car because it was driven by a man with flaming red hair. The car had crossed the bridge at the end of the Jersey Turnpike. From there, it might have gone into Delaware, Maryland, or Virginia.
Put out the car description and the Jersey plate numbers.
Good.
So there really is a red-haired man, huh?
No ghost, a real live person. Hugh Rohan. I checked the registrar at his college.
Annixter?
Right. Got his records. Applied for entrance 1964 pre-med. Excellent grades, high school, Germain, Illinois. Lacking credits in Latin and chemistry, admission denied. Which isn't unusual for students from small-town high schools.
Well, how'd he make it up?
Tutoring, usually.
And that's what happened to Rohan, huh?
No, didn't have the chance. Wasn't in school, so he was eligible for the draft.
Oh, lousy.
Instead of going to Annixter, Rohan went to Vietnam.
Some gifts don't do anything, but Presto gifts do almost everything.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her the famous Presto pressure cooker. It'll cook a surprising number of things for her, surprisingly fast. 3 times faster than pots and pans.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her Presto's jumbo fry pan. Big enough for a complete dinner for 8. And the handles are removable, so it's easy to clean and store.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
Give her an easier way to broil. The brand new Presto vertical broiler broils both sides at once, then comes apart for easy cleaning. This year, give the gifts that do almost everything. Give Presto gifts.
Presto gifts, they do things for a woman.
The 0 Hour continues after this.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful forest where everything was all lovely and green and peaceful. Sunlight fell in ribbons of daylight through its trees. Birds flew in the quiet air above it. Deer and rabbits found secret hiding places to play, for it was truly a beautiful place. And then one day, into this beautiful emerald forest, a new creature came. A creature called Man. And Man brought with him fire to warm him against the night. Only with his fire, Man did not bring caution, and the fire got away from him suddenly. And the beautiful forest was no more. And yet there might easily be a different ending. For if Man is careful with his fire, he need never say, once upon a time, there was a beautiful forest.
We drove all day under a sky the color of gray worsted. Occasionally the wind tore narrow rifts through the overcast for a watery sun to peep through. We stayed that night at a motel. Our room was as impersonal as a rented locker. We tried having a drink to help us forget everything that had happened. It didn't work.
Are you sorry you came?
No. I had to come. You can't be sorry for what had to be.
It's dark out.
Yes. What are you listening for?
Do you believe in extrasensory perception?
I don't know. Sometimes, maybe. But it'd take a lot of proving.
I had a feeling this afternoon, sudden, sort of peculiar, odd, like intuition. A message said, the chase has started. They're looking for a couple.
There's no way you can know that.
Oh, yes. Yes, there is. The Khans used to talk about it. I didn't believe it, but I do now.
No. There's no way you know that's true.
It's like telepathy, as if some cop's thoughts are being transmitted to me. Not all the time, just now and then. Just a little bit, now and then.
Where are you going?
There's a car parked out there. Michigan plates. I'm going to get rid of our Jersey ones.
Here are the records and Rohan's prints from his Army induction. He disappeared on a patrol in Vietnam in 1965. Missing in action, presumed dead.
We get anything on our wanted flyers?
I think we did, Will. A couple of days before Albert Turner was shot, 3 cons broke out of Bordeaux prison in Canada. Now, 2 of them were recaptured, but one is still at large. And that one's got red hair.
What name?
John Red Cargill. Seaman's papers. 3 to 10 for false passport, illegal entry, and smuggling. He'd served 7 when he split. Cargill's prints match Rohan's.
Picture of Cargill?
Correspondence Bureau received a telephoto copy of him from Montreal. Right here.
Yeah. It's funny. I knew he'd look like this. Good features, clean cut, sensitive mouth, eyes. I could see him in my mind.
Yeah. Guy like that, 7 years in prison. He'd probably crack open pretty easy. But, well, the trouble is, we don't really know if he shot Albert Turner.
Rohan and the Clinton girl were married when they were kids. Their old man annulled the marriage. Wait a minute. And the woman's safety deposit was opened.
What's the matter? What's bothering you?
This list of contents. Insurance policies, empty silk jewel case, title to co-op. Here we are. Why would she keep an empty envelope?
Oh, probably she didn't bother to throw it out.
Or maybe there was a return address on it.
Who are you calling?
Banner's DA's office. Find out if there's a name and address on that envelope.
We didn't stop again until we reached Kansas City. We had run from the Atlantic to the Midlands. Hugh's mood varied from moment to moment. Sometimes he was cheerful and optimistic, and I had hopes, against my better sense, that perhaps something would work out for us. But then he'd plunge into gloom and despair. And try as I might, I could see no future for us except to run until we were caught. Perhaps he felt the same way in that tiny Kansas City hotel room. Oh, Hugh, please put that gun away.
I need it. Reminds me of prison. What I may need to do so I don't go back there.
You have to get rid of it. It's direct evidence.
I won't let matters get that far. Why did you marry Turner?
I told you why. You were gone so long. I tried to convince myself that I didn't love you anymore. But the moment you came back, it was the same way it had always been. Isn't that enough?
But now you're... What do you think? What are you thinking? That I'm different? That I'm not the same?
We've both changed, darling. I no longer know what you think or feel either. Both of us together, possibly we can make one whole person.
Banners in the DA's office gave me the name on the empty envelope we'd found in Mercedes Turner's safety deposit box, Sayer and Bates Attorneys. I talked to Arnold Bates, the junior partner. He was very cooperative. He told me he'd handled an Enoch Arden decree for Mercedes Clinton against Hugh Rohan not quite 2 years earlier. The marriage had been secret, and Mercedes Clinton Rohan had wanted the decree kept secret. Her father was an old man in poor health, and she hadn't heard from her husband Hugh in 7 years. He was presumed dead.
You mean they were married a second time?
Right. After Lyman Clinton had the first marriage annul, they were married again secretly, just before Rohan was sent to Vietnam.
Where he goes out on a patrol and disappears.
To service again in a Canadian jail under another name.
Uh-huh. Well, whatever names they use, Will, we got a description, we got his prints, and we know their car. We're gonna get him.
Yes, I think we will. Any reports on the jewelry?
Not yet.
Keep after it. They're gonna need money.
During the day. For tonight, the temperature for Kansas City and vicinity should dip to 39 degrees. It will be cloudy tomorrow with a chance of snow flurries.
How long are we going to stay here?
Oh, another day or so.
Gotta move on. Get out of the country.
We need money to do that. Hugh, don't the police get reports on pawned articles?
Yeah. So I've heard.
Instead of pawning my things, I'll run an ad in the paper and sell them myself.
That's dangerous.
No, I don't think so. Kansas City is a big place. The police won't pay any attention to a newspaper ad.
And then we'll move on?
Yes. Hugh, I promised I wouldn't ask you about prison, and I'll keep that promise.
I don't want to talk about it.
But we must get out of the country. To do that, we'll need passports.
Well?
Do you know anyone? Someone who could get us passports?
In prison, I knew...
We have to leave the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I know someone who might. But, it's expensive.
We'll get the money. We have to buy passports. I think we've run as far as we can.
You are listening to Mutual's presentation of The Zero Hour.
VISTA means Volunteers in Service to America.
I started out as a business major in college. I graduated as a business major. I got into VISTA because I wanted to really do something. I chose this as my line, and when getting into it, it changed my whole life. I went through cultural shock. I found out what types of people really need the help and what's really happening in our country in the back areas. There is so much to be done. But I could say that if a person anywhere has an interest in doing something, there are programs for them. VISTA is one viable means, but there's so many ways of really getting involved with people. VISTA gave me my first start to work with the problems happening in this country and to really get down to earth and work with the people that need it.
Volunteer for VISTA. VISTA is one part of action. Action is doing something.
There is something you can do. Get into action.
There's a disease in business today we might call spiritual schizophrenia. You see it in individuals who apply one code of conduct in their personal affairs and a quite different one in business or government. The belief seems to be that we are less responsible as individuals when we make business decisions. That business has a different code. When you think about it, that doesn't make sense. Profits are not the only gauge of business success. Business doesn't change the priority of values. We are born to the community of man first. The others are secondary allegiances. Make your personal morality work where you work and see the difference. The community of man, God's club. Be an active member. This message has been brought to you by Religion in American Life in cooperation with this station.
Tomorrow at this time, rest your eyes and listen here to this week's continuing study in suspense, The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. I'm Rod Serling.
Today's episode brought to you in part by Quaker State Motor Oil and National Presto Industries. This is the Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
You have been listening to The Zero Hour, a presentation of the Mutual Broadcasting System in association with Hollywood Radio Theater. Heard every weekday at this time. Rod Serling is your host. Zero Hour is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. The Hollywood Radio Theater theme was played by Ferranti and Teicher and is now available on United Artists Records and Tapes. Hugh Douglas speaking. Tune in tomorrow, and once again,
rest your eyes and listen here
to The Zero Hour.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Part 2.
Exercise your imagination. This week, Bill S. Ballinger's best-selling novel, The Pursuit of a Damned Couple. The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. Starring Patty Duke Astin, John Astin, and Howard Duff. In Elliott Lewis's production of The Zero Hour.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Zero Hour. Sponsored in part by
Contact and the makers of Kodak cameras. This is the Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
Hugh Rohan has returned after having been missing for 7 years to find his wife Mercedes married to Albert Turner. In a confrontation, Rohan panics and kills Turner. Mercedes, still in love with the red-haired man, flees with him, paying for their escape by selling her jewels. As their flight continues, Rohan subtly changes, losing his assurance, his confidence, even much of his ability to make decisions. Assigned to the case are 2 New York City detectives, Scores of homicide, and Williams of the 19th Precinct. They have been painstakingly putting together the puzzle of Albert Turner's murder by tracing Mercedes Turner and Hugh Rohan's earlier life. Their trail has taken them from New York to Connecticut to Virginia. But first, this word.
I'm Lucille Maness, an unsuccessful big businesswoman, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my unsuccessful business. Well, I was the co-founder of this women's book club, but we ran into a little trouble. We had all kinds of problems, so I called SCORE. That's the Service Corps of Retired Executives. They're retired executives who
volunteer to help small businesses. I went over and discovered Lucille was in deep trouble. I made several simple business suggestions.
I also strongly recommended the club seek incorporation with a well-established women's magazine until its membership increased sufficiently.
Unfortunately, one of my associates really didn't like the idea of a man giving us advice, so she wrote herself a check with the remainder of what we had left in the treasury and took off. Well, Mr. Krause came back to help again.
A man who knows how to solve problems likes to keep solving them.
Volunteer for SCORE. SCORE is one part of action. Action is doing something.
There is something you can do. Get into action.
Time is what's needed in police work. Time for lab work, time to check out clues, time to find witnesses, time to get replies to the hundreds of flyers that are put out to locate stolen or missing property. 2 weeks after Albert Turner's murder, the Missing Property Bureau called me regarding a batch of jewelry bought by a New York wholesaler. One of the items was a pair of diamond cluster earrings sold to the New York outfit by a shop in Richmond, Virginia. The earrings were those described by the insurance company as belonging to Mercedes Turner, part of the jewelry she'd taken from her safe deposit box the morning after her husband's murder. I flew down to Richmond to talk to a man named Town who'd bought the earrings from the Turner woman. You'd look at this sketch, please, Mr. Town. Does the woman seem familiar to you?
Yes, sir, it looks like her, sort of. But, the first gentleman I talked to in New York mentioned the name Turner. The lady I wrote out a check to was a Mrs. Brewer.
As soon as the check clears, I'd like a copy of her endorsement. Compare it with our suspect's handwriting. Make sure we've got the right person.
All right. I'd be pleased to help you.
How'd the lady react to the money you gave her?
Was she disappointed, you suggested? She was indeed. But then they always are, you know. Person don't take into account markup and resale prices and so on and so on. She was disappointed, I'd say.
But she accepted your offer.
Oh, yes. We've a good reputation, whether she knew it or not. I offered her a fair price, and after a few minutes of debating with herself, she accepted the check.
Was she alone? Or was there a man with her?
She was alone, sir. If someone was with her, he stayed outside because she was alone.
We stayed in Kansas City while I advertised that my jewelry and mink coat were for sale. Where Hugh had wanted to run, to move constantly. Now, without explanation, he changed and seemed content to stay. Not content, perhaps, but at least no longer argumentative. Then one evening, we were sitting in our room having a drink together, when suddenly he began to talk about what had happened.
Stupid. You see, I always wanted to be a doctor. All my life. To help people. Not kill them. Well, you know, war. You see things. There are things you have to do. Terrible things. Brutal, awful things.
The Army reported you missing in action. Then, after a few years, they told me you were presumed dead.
Well, what happened was, see, this one day, we were out on a search and destroy. I was on one flank, and it was all quiet and pretty. I remember a jet, a passenger jet, Air France, I think, flying overhead, filled with civilians going about their peaceful business. And
what happened that day, honey?
All hell broke loose. I don't know. They must have been waiting for us. I got separated. I couldn't find anyone. The air was black. Men screaming. Did you ever hear a man scream in pain?
No.
You see, it's not that I was yellow, but all that blood and terror, pain. I left there. I just wandered off.
The Army didn't find you?
No way. I was like an animal, crawling through the jungle, hiding, afraid for my life. Somehow, I don't know how, I got to the coast, to where the merchant ships were anchored, waiting to get into the harbor and unload. That's where I met Cargill, a merchant seaman on the job ashore, an old tanker. He told me he'd give me his papers and get me a berth on an outgoing freighter to Montreal, if I'd help him.
Help him how?
Well, he wanted me to deliver some uncut movies to a fence there. Do you understand? You see, I didn't do it for money, not for anything, except to get away from there and get home to you. That's all I wanted. Do you understand?
Yes, Hugh. Of course. But how...
Exactly. How? That's where it all comes apart. I was caught before I made the delivery. Cargill hadn't given me a package of rubies. I was carrying heroin.
Didn't you tell the police?
No. I kept Cargill's papers and shut up. You see, I thought I'd serve my time and not tell anyone, not even you, until it was over. And then we could go away somewhere, and I'd take another name. I'd study medicine and be a doctor, the way I always wanted. Look at me, Mercy.
Yes, dear.
Is it too late?
I don't know.
You don't blame me?
No.
In New Orleans, there's a man who can get us passports, but it's expensive.
We'll sell more jewelry. And someone will buy the coat.
He's after us, you know.
Who?
A cop. I told you, I know when he's onto something. It's like the two of us are connected.
Hugh, he may be after us. We don't know what they found out.
I'm going to paint the car blue. And I'm going to get another set of plates. I'll be back.
Oh, please.
Give your hand to a friend. Give your heart to your love. Give your cold to contact. The sooner the better.
Hey, I'm back. How's that cold?
Rotten. Get the contact?
I got everything. Contact, cold tablets, and this liquid.
Oh, no.
Honey, it's all cold medicine.
Well, sure, but it only takes one contact for up to 12 hours continuous relief from sneezing, drips, congestion. For that, I'd need 6 of your cold tablets.
2 every 4 hours.
Or 3 ounces of nighttime liquid.
1 every 4 hours.
Or just one contact. The tiny Tide pills do it.
Well, it's all cold medicine.
Those others contain antipyretic analgesics. The liquid, antitussive, and alcohol. They're not in contact.
6 or 3 or 1. I choose the one contact.
Me too. And I'm the one with the cold.
Give me cold contact. The sooner the better.
6 or 3 or 1. When you catch a cold, take contact. Only as directed.
We'll return to our story in a moment.
Adam, where are you?
Up here, Eve, and I'm very busy inventing things.
Big deal. I invented something, too.
What?
Shoes.
What are shoes?
Watch this. I just slipped them on, and they keep my hands warm.
Hey, that's great. Want to see what I invented today?
Not that fire bit again.
Don't worry. Now I know what fire is for.
What are you putting in your mouth?
You remember that paper stuff I invented? Well, it's wrapped around some chopped up leaves I call tobacco.
You're weird, Adam.
I set fire to the tobacco thing and puffing the smoke.
What's wrong with your invention, Adam?
Lots of things.
With that fire thing, you're hot stuff.
You know something, Eve? I think you just invented the first bad joke.
This history lesson was brought to you by your American Cancer Society, which says smoking is a drag.
After we recover the earrings, I guess Mercedes Turner would confine future sales to private parties. If she'd been as upset as the jeweler described her over not receiving a retail price for her merchandise, she'd advertise and take her chance on private buyer sales. That would also apply to her fur coat. One thing for sure, they were going to need all the money they could get their hands on to keep running. I judged they might have gone south from Richmond. I figured it was more likely they'd head west to get as far away as possible from New York. I arranged with the Bureau of Information to subscribe to a clipping service covering 18 cities. Places like Louisville, Kansas City, St. Louis, Oklahoma City, through the area where I figured they'd most likely be. We wanted to look in the personal columns of those local newspapers at items for sale. There was a 3-day lag before the first clippings arrived. Scores and I began wading through a box of the stuff.
Oh, boy. Never realized so many people had so much stuff for sale.
Wearing you down, huh?
Well, it's beginning to, Will. Oh, look at this. Watches for sale. Also necklaces, bracelets, pendants, brooches, earrings. Anything your heart desires is from sale, from coast to coast.
And this. Mink coat.
Turner woman had a mink coat.
No name or address in the ad, just the Jefferson Hotel, Kansas City, room 1417, and the hotel phone number.
You suppose it's them?
West area codes. No way you can tell where the double the call's coming from.
You're nervous, Will.
Yep.
Good morning, Jefferson Hotel.
Room 1417, please.
Will you hold? That line is busy.
Yes, I'll wait.
They ringing?
Yeah, room phone's busy. I'm on hold. Why don't you pick up the extension?
Yeah.
I can ring your party now.
Thank you.
Hello.
Room 1417?
Yes?
You the party offering a mink coat for sale?
No.
There was an ad last Sunday's newspaper advertising a fur coat for sale.
No, I don't know anything about it. I just checked in last night. Sorry.
Oh, I see. Well, get the hotel operator for me again, will you, please?
Yeah, sure.
Operator, may I help you?
Yes, operator. This is the New York police. Who was the party checked out of room 1417 yesterday?
One moment, sir. I'll check that for you.
You think it was them, huh?
Almost sure.
Sir, the party registered as Mr. and Mrs. Y.V. Garfield, North Sneedham Drive, Detroit, Michigan.
Thank you, operator.
Okay, I'll check it out with Detroit.
8-5 and even, they're phony. I'll get some more information from the Kansas City cops.
We stayed longer in Kansas City than we planned. We moved from hotel to hotel, running ads in the paper, and I sold off my jewelry piece by piece. Winter held Missouri in a bleak embrace. The city tried to cheer itself with holiday decorations, strings of lights and vivid displays from the plaza to the downtown area. But the approach of Christmas brought little joy to Hugh or me. It was then that he began to disappear for hours at a time. I assumed he was walking or reading in the library. Anything to be out of that confining hotel room.
You're the store manager?
Your assistant, Davis.
The sign in your window for help?
You need a stock boy, $2 an hour.
I'll take it, Mr. Davis.
What's your name?
Tufts.
All right, Tufts. Full or part-time?
Part-time, but as many hours as I can get in.
The stock room's downstairs. Report to the chief clerk. Get a time card, punch in and out. You'll be paid every day.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Y.V. Garfield and wife, North Sneedham Drive, Detroit, didn't exist. No such persons, no such address. The KC cops furnished us with a description of the couple which fit, loosely, Rohan and Mercedes Turner, except no red hair. But I'd already figured he'd have dyed it by now. Scores and I brought our chiefs up to date, and an hour later, we were on a plane to Kansas City.
You think he's still there?
Well, if not, we'll pick up the end of the string.
If they have busted out, where do you suppose he might be heading, Will? Mexico?
No, she's too smart for Mexico. Took her out of the country, somewhere they speak English. England, Australia, New Zealand. Well, maybe not England. The cops are too good there.
Hey, I think they still got the same car.
Last we heard was a gray compact, Michigan plates. That might mean something.
What?
In Virginia, they use New Jersey plates. In Kansas City, they have Michigan plates.
Might change again, huh?
Yeah. Kansas City, Missouri, just across the river from Kansas City, Kansas. My hunch is they'll take Kansas plates.
Less obvious?
Exactly. Mercedes Turner's a cutie. Plenty smart. Not too sure about Rohan.
You really zeroed in on him, didn't you?
From the beginning, before there was any proof, I knew he was there. I just knew what he looked like. Bit how he thinks. He's our best bet.
The weakest?
Yeah. Yeah, put it like that. Rohan's intelligent, but he's emotional. Poor control. He's going to break sooner or later. It's more of a drag than an asset. If Mercedes Turner were all by herself, that'd be another story.
Hot,
Kodak Pocket Instamatic camera is a miraculously little camera to take such big, sharp pictures. Take a pocket anywhere and everywhere your Christmas takes you. Kodak Pocket Camera. For less than $23, we couldn't wish you more for Christmas.
The Zero Hour continues after this.
Here's an important announcement for parents by Dr. Sidney Marland, Assistant Secretary for Education at the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare.
Do you have a son or daughter who wants to begin college or vocational training after high school, but there just isn't enough money? If you do, I have some good news for you. The United States government has a new program called Basic Grants to help pay for tuition, books, fees, and other expenses. The money is for full-time students enrolled for the first time at colleges or at vocational schools, technical institutes, or hospital schools of nursing. The money is a grant, not a loan. Your son or daughter must have a good education to get ahead, so don't let the lack of money stand in the way. Inquire about Basic Grants. Get an application at your post office today, or write Basic Grants, Box 84, Washington, D.C., 20044.
Gradually, I sold off the jewelry, and we began to accumulate the money we needed to get our passports and arrange for passage out of the country. Hugh, meanwhile, continued to disappear each day. But I must confess that it was easier not having him underfoot in each of those small hotel rooms we occupied.
Well, good morning. Didn't think you were going to show.
Sorry, Mr. Davis.
Christmas is day after tomorrow. I'll be glad.
You said that working here, I can get a 20% discount?
Yes, tops anything in the store. Now, get with it. Restock counter 15 with perfume.
Yes, sir, as soon as I get my jacket.
We arrived in Kansas City before noon. The local cops gave us plenty of cooperation. We started checking hotels, big and little, good and bad, 1 million of them. At some of them, they remembered a couple staying a few days, running an ad to sell jewelry, then checking out. At the Jefferson, there was an unclaimed letter for the Garfields from a Mrs. Arms, return address in Kansas City. I went to check it out, but nobody was home. Downtown garages were covered for a 3-year-old gray compact with Michigan or Kansas plates. By then, it was dark. Walking to our hotel, I passed a big super drugstore. I needed some things, went in, walked back toward men's toiletries.
Can I help you?
Yes, I need a shaving kit and some blades.
How about a new electric razor?
Just blades, cream, aftershave.
Something wrong?
A man over there by the perfume counter.
From the stockroom.
Has he been here long?
Most of us are extra help for the Christmas rush. Is there anything else?
No, I don't think so. Hey, where'd he go?
Why, back to the stockroom, I guess.
Where? Where's that?
In the basement. Hey, your things! Don't you want them?
A guy just come through here?
Yeah, tops like a rocket in his tail, same as you.
Which way?
The alley.
Rohan! Rohan! Lost him.
South now?
Yes.
New Orleans, I guess.
Not directly. Where's the map of Louisiana?
In the glove compartment.
It isn't. Oh, I remember I had it in our room at the hotel.
We'll get another one.
If the policeman had tried to arrest you in the drugstore, what would you have done?
Shot him.
Would that have helped? There'll always be another.
I'll get as many as I can.
Let me see the gun.
Okay. Be careful.
How many shots?
7. 1 in the chamber, 6 in the clip.
Hugh, look, a truck stalled up there.
Left his lights on. No one around. He probably went for help.
Stop the car. Get the
Get the Nebraska plates.
Okay. Right away.
I'll keep the gun in my purse.
At least I knew Rohan and the Turner woman were in Kansas City. Why had they stayed over? Well, I figured she was still trying to sell more jewelry. I beat it to the newspaper office. They were making up the morning edition. There was an ad, as I expected. Trowbridge Hotel, room number, with a diamond bracelet for sale. When Scores and I got there, we'd missed them by half an hour. The local cops and the highway patrol sent out an all-points bulletin. Meanwhile, I went out to see Mrs. Arms, who wrote the unclaimed letter. She was at home now. Pleasant-faced woman, mixed gray and blonde hair, living in a big, comfortable fieldstone house, log burning in the fireplace.
Why, yes, I went down to Mrs. Garfield's room at the hotel. I was interested in the fur coat she wanted to sell.
But you didn't buy it?
No, it was a lovely coat. I made her an offer, but she didn't take it. Well, I came home and thought it over. Later, I tried to call her, but there was no answer. So I dropped her a note offering more.
Mrs. Arms, when you were in the hotel room, did you see anything unusual?
No, nothing. Pieces of luggage, clothes, toilet articles on the dresser.
Think. Please try to remember. It may not seem important, but anything other than personal items.
Well, now, let me see. There was a writing desk, something on it, a red cover, blue and white letters, folded, a map.
Of what, Mrs. Arms? What map?
Let's see. Louisiana.
That's it. Louisiana, New Orleans.
What town is this?
I don't know. How far are we from Kansas City?
About 40 miles.
I'm worried. They must have roadblocks up further down.
We just keep going until we hit them.
No, wait. That bus in front of the cafe. Hugh, let me off here. Middle of the block.
What for?
I'm catching that bus south. We have to split up here. It's the only way to get through.
Wait a minute.
No. Take this money. Meet me in New Orleans. The old hotel on Tupelo Street. Use the name Graham.
When?
Christmas. Be careful.
You are listening to Mutual's presentation of The Zero Hour.
Be prepared. Are you ready to get going? Be prepared. Are you ready to take the lead? 'Cause if you ain't, who'll take care of the futures of our sons? Well, let me ask you now, who's gonna tell them about the pusher man? Who's gonna show them how to clean the land? Who's gonna tell them why they shouldn't drop out? Who's gonna show them what it's all about? You know you can if you want to. You can if you want to right now.
Let me tell them, you know, if you're 18 or older, you can help a lot of guys be prepared by being a leader in scouting. I mean it, fella, scouting today's a lot more than you think.
Be prepared. Are you ready to get going? Be prepared. Are you ready to take the lead? 'Cause if you ain't, who'll help teach our sons to be prepared?
A message from the Council for Financial Aid to Education and this station. College students now march to a different drummer, and sometimes it seems to no drummer at all. But what matters most is that colleges continue educating. Students and their parents pay tuitions to make this possible, but the money they pay just doesn't go far enough. 2/3 of college costs must come from other sources, including contributions from friends of colleges. How can you be the friend of a college? You can believe that educating young people is the main thing, not whether they're singing football songs or folk songs. You can be willing to back up your belief with a gift, because colleges need money to march ahead. A lot of that money must come from people like you. Give to the college of your choice, now.
Tomorrow at this time, rest your eyes and listen here to this week's continuing study in suspense, The Wife of the Red-Haired Man. I'm Rod Serling.
Today's episode brought to you in part by Contact and the makers of Kodak cameras. This is the Zero Hour on Mutual Radio.
You have been listening to The Zero Hour, a presentation of the Mutual Broadcasting System in association with Hollywood Radio Theater. Heard every weekday at this time. Rod Serling is your host. Zero Hour is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis. The Hollywood Radio Theater theme was played by Ferranti and Teicher and is now available on United Artists Records and Tapes. Hugh Douglas speaking. Tune in tomorrow, and once again,
rest your eyes and listen here
to The Zero Hour.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Thank you for listening to and showing your support for my podcast. If you would like to receive notifications of when new episodes are posted, please subscribe to my channel. Subscriptions are 100% free, and they really help me get an idea of how I'm doing. You can also go to my website where you can listen to all of my podcasts for free, and you can also download episodes for free. The website is otr.duane.media. There is also donation information on there if you want to show your support or become a patron. You can email me at info@otr.duane.media. I'm also on Instagram at duane.otr. Well, hope you enjoyed, and until next time, stay safe, wish you well, and as always, peace.